Okay, good. We're on. Okay. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Welcome to Emerson. Larry Hubig, would you like to start this morning with a joke? No? You're blowing my cover, Larry. You were my cover. How about someone else? Does someone else like to start with a joke? Nancy Lip. No? I'm asking you permission for me to tell a joke. I can tell a joke? Okay. We're going to start the morning with a joke. Have you heard this story of the duck who walks into the bank to get a loan? No? So this duck walks into a bank to get a loan. And he sits at the table of the lady who takes the loan applications, and he says, "I'd like a loan." And the lady says, "Well, we're really not in the business of loaning money to ducks. Do you have any collateral?" And the duck says, "Listen, I'm just trying to buy myself a lily pad here, but fine." And he takes out of his satchel, because all ducks have satchels, he takes it out of his satchel a tiny little pink elephant. And he gives the pink elephant to the banker. And the banker says, "Well, I don't know if that's enough collateral." So she says, "Okay, I'm going to go ask my boss." So she takes the pink elephant into her boss, and she sits down in her boss's desk, and she puts the pink elephant on the table and says, "That's his collateral. What is it? Do you even know what it is?" And the manager says, "Oh, it's a knick-knack, paddywhack. Give the duck a loan." That was awful. I told that so wrong. I'm going to come back. You're going to hear that joke again. I'm going to do it right. I missed the whole part about her name being Paddywhack. Yeah. That was awful. That was a tribute to Norm Macdonald, and I take it back, Norm. We'll do that again better. On a more serious note, we have some announcements this week. We have, get this, we have a drum circle here at Emerson, and we are starting up a flute circle here at Emerson, and it's going to be the second and fourth Sundays after services. So just like the drum circle, it's after services, and there will be loaner flutes. So this is a spiritual experiment. This is a spiritual event, like you're doing this to play music together. You're doing this as a group. If you're interested, if you've ever been interested in being in a flute circle, I'm kind of making that up. It's just a flute group, flute choir. We're going to start one here. April, here at Emerson, will be Poetry Month. We will be featuring poetry from some of y'all who have written poetry, and then we will supplement with poetry from people who, I'm still kicking myself about Paddywhack. No, I don't want to tell it again. No, that's embarrassing. No, I'll tell it again later when y'all have forgotten that I've told it half already. Knick-knack, paddywhack, give the duck a loan. Jeez, it's not that hard. Poetry Month in April. So we are looking for people who are willing to read poetry, present poetry, or you just have an interest in poetry. I'm looking for your input. We will center the whole month of April around poetry. And April is Poetry Month in the United States, too. Lunch Bunch this week. Lunch Bunch is an informal gathering where we go to a place and have lunch together and continue the conversation. You are welcome, no matter how new or how seasoned you are here, you are welcome to come with us. And today it will be at Leaf and Grain, which is right here on the corner of San Felipe and Bering. Between Lunch Bunch and the service, we will be sharing coffee and in the gathering place. Feel free to join us there and again continue the conversation. I'd like to point out that each Sunday, members of our lay pastoral ministry team, we call them the LPMT team, are here in the sanctuary, and they are available after and during the services to listen to any immediate pastoral care needs and assistance you might have. especially if I say something that brings something up for you. These folks are here, and you can tell them because they are wearing yellow badges. So we have 1, 2, 3 of them here today. So feel free to talk to them after the service if you need to talk to someone. For those of you who are still a little bit new around here, we welcome you. You should have gotten a welcome packet when you came in. If you didn't, please ask for one. If you have been around long enough and you feel like you want to become more involved in this community, there's a yellow card in the pew. That will put you on our mailing list database so that you'll know what is going on here with more regularity. And then, is next Sunday the fourth Sunday? Next Sunday is the fourth Sunday. For those of you who are still new around here, we will have a new UU class on Sunday after services. If you're new to UU or new to Emerson and you have been attending for a while and you'd like to deepen your understanding of this place or of this liberating faith we share, we invite you to come to the library next Sunday after services. And one last thing, we are experimenting today with a new format. So it's pretty much the same elements, but they're in a different order. So if we mess up, this is our first try at it. So we beg your patience. And I now invite Artem to bring us into the formal part of our service. It's a knick-knack paddywhack.
Good morning.
Good morning.
In Unitarian Universalist churches like this one, across the nation and across the world, we light a chalice at the start of worship and other gatherings. I would like to invite Lissa Wolf to have the honor of lighting our chalice this morning. As Lissa lights our chalice flame here in the sanctuary, I invite those of you joining us from home or away on YouTube to light a candle or chalice of your own. In the words of Reverend Sherry Woodbury, the light of the chalice represents the spark of the Spirit, cupped in earth's embrace. It represents the light of love, alive in all creation. And when we kindle this flame, here in the presence of this beloved community, we rekindle our connection to the sacred web of life. When we light our chalice, we hear words of timeless wisdom to help center us for our time together. For the month of February, our chalice lighting words come from Ava DuVernay. She is not well known outside of certain circles, so I'd like to tell you a bit about her. DuVernay is a contemporary award-winning American filmmaker, screenwriter, director, and producer. At just 52 years old, she has already directed many movies I'm sure you've seen along the way, becoming the first Black woman to win Best Director at the Sundance Film Festival, the first Black woman to be nominated for a Golden Globe for Best Director, and the first Black woman to direct a film with a budget in excess of $100 million, which happened in 2018. Please join me in reading these words together as they appear on your screen. When we're talking about diversity, it's not a box to check. It is a reality that should be deeply felt and held and valued by all of us. We welcome you here today. We welcome you who come here for the first, the 5th, or the 500th time. We welcome you who come with heavy hearts or with joyous spirits. We welcome you to be with us as we experience the mysteries of a fully human life together. Please join me in our welcoming. The words are on the screen. Whoever you are, wherever you come from, wherever you find yourself on your life's journey, whichever your pronouns, whether you've walked in or rolled in or dialed in, whomever you love, you are welcome here.
Thank you, Alejandra. I forgot to introduce Alejandra. Thank you. Alejandra is a member of our board and a member of our Social Action Council and a member of our stewardship. Alejandra does a lot. And I didn't introduce myself. My name is Reverend Ed, and I invite you into this place of peace, this place of community, this place of wisdom, and this place of wonder. I would like to offer you a chance right now to take a moment to center yourself, to ground yourself in your presence in this place, with all those present here in the sanctuary, and with all those joining us on YouTube from wherever they may be. Together, we are the Emerson community. We invite you to allow yourselves to breathe, to feel yourself sink in to the seat below you, to feel your feet on the ground, to feel your back on the wood behind you, and to have your heart and mind here in this room connected in a real, valuable way. I invite you to do one of the hardest things you might be asked to do today. Just be. We will exit this moment of meditation or prayer or peace or whatever you want to call it, together with our voices raised to sing our first hymn. The words after our moment of silence will be on your screen when you hear the music start. Feel free to stand or sit or sing or not sing, but join us if you can in singing our first hymn after our moment of silence. And now I invite you to join us in a very special part of our service here at Emerson, which we have done a couple times, but we are trying to do more of. This ritual is practiced in Unitarian Universalist churches from sea to sea and beyond. For those of you who are carrying a weight of sorrow or concern, I invite you to come forward and light a candle and breathe that life of that concern into the room and let it be here with us in the room for all to see. And for those of you who are carrying a joy or celebration in your hearts, I invite you also to come forward and light a candle, also to show your joy and your celebration and to bring it into this room with all of us. And any of our young folks who would like to celebrate their joys and concerns can light a candle as well. And if there are young folks and they would like to go to the religious education class after, they are free to do that after we light our candles. So the candle station is here. If you would like to share a joy or a concern, we invite you to do that now. My friends, the light you see here from these candles represent the joys and concerns of this congregation. They are the wind that fills our lungs, they are the blood that runs through our veins, and they are the marrow in our bones. We welcome them here into the room with us in the same way that we welcome you into the room here with us. And this week we are especially happy to have them in front of this beautiful arrangement of flowers, which was given to us to celebrate this special day by Robin Sickles and Janet Meininger, who donated the flowers in memory of their fathers, who were born on the 13th and the 15th of February. We bring Walter Sickles and Harold Meininger into the room with us today as well. And now I invite Richard Cummins to deliver our This Week in Unitarian Universalist History.
Dad, good morning. Morning. On the 12th of February in 1809, Charles Darwin was born in Shrewsbury, England. He was descended from Unitarian families on both sides. In his youth, he attended the Unitarian Church in Shrewsbury. Darwin's early training was for the church, but his interest was in the natural sciences. From 1831 to 1836, Darwin sailed as the official naturalist aboard the HMS Beagle. He published several works on his geological and zoological discoveries, the most important of which was The Origin of Species by Means of Natural Selection in 1859. Along with Alfred Russel Wallace, this was an epoch-making work defended and attacked violently to this day. Its central thesis that species evolve in response to changes in their habitats has been called the most important concept in modern society. Charles Darwin died on April 19, 1882. And on the 15th of February in 1820, Susan Brownell Anthony was born in Adams, Massachusetts. Her family was Quaker, but they were also active members of First Unitarian Church in Rochester. Anthony spoke often of the guidance she received from the church's minister, William Ellery Channing. She was active in the temperance and abolition movements, as well as teachers' organizations. She wanted to include women in the 14th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution, which gave African Americans the right to vote. She published a women's rights periodical, The Revolution, and organized the National Women's Suffrage Association with Elizabeth Cady Stanton in 1869. The two women spent the next 35 years traveling around the United States working to get the vote for women. In 1872, Anthony went to the polls in Rochester, claiming the right to vote as a citizen under the 14th Amendment. She was arrested and fined $100, which she refused to pay. With other feminists, she compiled and edited The History of Women's Suffrage. In February 1906, a month before her death, Anthony gave her final speech at the Women's Suffrage Convention in Baltimore and stated, "Failure is impossible." Congress passed the 19th Amendment giving women the right to vote 14 years after Susan B. Anthony's death. She died on March 13, 1906. Charles Darwin and Susan B. Anthony, that's pretty good company. Reverend Ed?
All right, be honest. How many of you knew Charles Darwin and Susan B. Anthony were Unitarians? All right, look at you go. All right. And you cheated, though, because you just heard. That's not what you meant, right? No? Okay. My friends, each time we are gathered, we hear words from one of our 6 sources of Unitarian Universalism. Today, we hear the mystical, magical words of Shel Silverstein. Silverstein is a well-known writer of about 20 books, and he is also a musician with about 20 albums to his name. He was born in New York and died in 1999 in his beloved Key West at the age of 68. Here is his poem called Helping. Agatha Fry, she made a pie, and Christopher John helped bake it. Christopher John, he mowed the lawn, and Agatha Fry helped rake it. Now Zachary Zug took out the rug, and Jennifer Joy helped shake it. Then Jennifer Joy, she made a toy, and Zachary Zug helped break it. And some kind of help is the kind of help that's helping is all about, and some kind of help is the kind of help that we can all do without. Now I invite Alejandro Posada to bring us into our offering.
Emerson's purpose statement is our beloved community of faith, reason, and affection welcomes all to grow in mind and spirit as we build a better world. We remind you of it each week by stating it right on the front of your order of service. We live out our purpose in many different ways. We worship together, we learn together, we lobby together, and we spread our faith through our actions. We also give our time, talent, and treasure to partners in Houston and across the nation and the planet who we feel are living out our purpose in ways that we only wish we could. We support these partners each week at this time in our service. 75% of today's offering will go to our February Share the Plate recipient, the Carrizo Comecrudo tribe of Texas, also known as Estocna. The Carrizo Comecrudo have defended their lands from the triple threat of militarization, desecration, and environmental racism. They took the Trump administration to court to resist the border walls plan to run through the heart of a local cemetery, and they faced down corporate attempts to build liquefied natural gas export terminals on the lands of their ancestors, and won. The remaining 25% of today's offering will go to Interfaith Ministries Meals on Wheels, which provides thousands of meals every day to Houston's homebound seniors. You can go to our webpage for online giving, put a cash or check in our offering baskets, or mail a check to the church. The words for our second reading today come from Naomi Shihab Nye. Nye is a contemporary Palestinian-American poet with 30 volumes of poetry to her credit. This poem is called Kindness, and if I may go off script for a moment, Reverend Ed had no idea this is actually one of my absolute favorite poems. I had it on my desk at work for 15 years, and I think I've posted it on social media at least twice in the past few months, so I'm very excited to share it with you today. Kindness by Naomi Shihab Nye. Before you know what kindness really is, you must lose things. Feel the future dissolve in a moment like salt in a weakened broth. What you held in your hand, what you counted and carefully saved, all this must go so you know how desolate the landscape can be between the regions of kindness. How you ride and ride, thinking the bus will never stop. The passengers eating maize and chicken will stare out the window forever. Before you learn the tender gravity of kindness, you must travel where the Indian in a white poncho lies dead by the side of the road. You must see how this could be you, how he too was someone who journeyed through the night with plans and the simple breath that kept him alive. Before you know kindness as the deepest thing inside, you must know sorrow as the other deepest thing. You must wake up with sorrow. You must speak to it till your voice catches the thread of all sorrows and you see the size of the cloth. Then it is only kindness that makes sense anymore. Only kindness that ties your shoes and sends you out into the day to mail letters and purchase bread. Only kindness that raises its head from the crowd of the world to say, "It is I you have been looking for," and then goes with you everywhere, like a shadow or a friend.
Andra, that's actually the second time we did that, right? It's the second time I picked her favorite poem and put it in the script, not knowing. So she does, in my defense, have a lot of favorite poems. In November of 2023, just a short time ago, I spoke to you from this very pulpit, a sermon on kindness. And I called it Choose Kindness. And the purpose of the sermon, the point of the sermon, the mission of the sermon, was to frame kindness as a choice that we are all free and capable of making. That puts a lot of pressure on us, right? To know that kindness is something that we can choose to do whether we feel like it or not, but we can always choose. I'm sure you all remember it vividly. Some of you even have your notes from that sermon with you here today. For those of you who may not remember, you may remember this. It was the first sermon, it was the first Sunday that I had ever met Lissa Wolf. And I forgot to ask Lissa how to pronounce her name. So at the moment of now needing to pronounce her name, I had two options. I could choose Lissa or I could choose Lisa, and I chose wrong. You remember that day, don't you? Yes. And Lissa was kind enough just to sort of let the whole church know that I had chosen the wrong pronunciation of her name. Remember that too, eh? Yeah. And the story for the day was the boy who cried wolf. And what I posited from the story of the boy who cried wolf is maybe the villagers didn't go help the boy who cried wolf because they just didn't like him. And that being kind is a good, practical thing to do. And now here we are some 18 months later or so, and I find myself back thinking about kindness again. It's taking up a lot of mental and emotional energy in my heart and in my mind these days. Because we are now in a world infused with institutional hatred, institutional hurt, and institutional contempt. We are now in a world where a government official says out loud on social media that he was racist before it was cool to be racist. We are in a world now fueled by intentional interpersonal divisiveness and artificially constructed disunity. Kindness is harder and harder to find. You just don't trip over it walking down the street. We all know and we all act unkindly from time to time. We just do. It's an error, a mistake we make, a misunderstanding, a frustration. Sometimes we can do it out of stress. We can all be unkind. But I'm not talking about the kind of unkindness that is uncharacteristic. I'm talking about the kind of unkindness that is intentional, institutional, and immune to social critique. I'm talking about a culture where a huge swath of our population wants to roll back time. They want to roll back time to a time when America was great. A time where you could be overtly racist with impunity and immunity. A huge swath of our population right now wants to roll back time to a time when a woman couldn't open a checking account without a man's signature. Does anybody remember that? Yes, you do, because you lived it. That should really be the other way around, by the way. A time when our black brothers and sisters had to use the back door, had to get out of town by sundown, and grown black men had to answer white children, "Yes, sir." A time when we threw all of our Japanese-faced Americans into concentration camps. Assembly centers. A time when being L, G, B, or anything but S and cis meant being forced to have to lie to make sure that nobody's sensibilities were bruised. In short, these people want to roll back time to a time when catering to the fragility of the dominant class was required. We wake up every morning now with kindness so far in the distance that you can't even see it from here anymore. And kindness seems to form no part of our official view of the future. And in this atmosphere, and in these days, and in this culture, and in this place, I find myself thinking about kindness again. What kind of kindness? There are multiple kinds of kindness, aren't there? It's like I said last week about excuse me being used in multiple different ways. Kindness can be transactional, where you do something kind only because you want something in return. Kindness can be the nice, polite kind of kindness, where you let someone do something stupid or harmful or difficult because you're too lazy or too disinterested to intervene. Those kinds of kindnesses aren't kind at all, are they? And we know it. But we all do it. What I'm talking about here is an authentic kind of kindness, a true, meaningful kind of kindness, and a kind of kindness where we are not doing unto others as we would want them to do unto us, but a kind of kindness where we are doing unto others what they would want done onto them. When I think about kindness, my mind goes to the first book of Corinthians. Letter writer Paul wrote this letter. And for those of you who worry about this church or me becoming or being too Christian, I would ask you to consider that these words, no matter where you find them, if they were in the Christian scripture as they are, fine. The Buddhist scripture, fine. Anywhere you find them, in a volume of modern poetry by a Palestinian-American poet, wherever you find these words, they are wise, not because they come from the religion, but because they are wise. They are wise independent of the religion or lack of religion from which they come. So here we have St. Paul writing to the proto-Christian church at Corinth. This is one of Paul's earliest letters, probably written around 52 AD, so not that long after Jesus had been executed. And I have rewritten it to prove my point here, because we can do that in a Unitarian church. We can just take the Bible and go, yeah, that's great, but listen to this. This is even better, and this is what we did. You may have heard this at weddings. It comes out a lot at weddings, and you may sense the fact that I rewrote it. When I say kindness is patient, kindness is love, kindness is not envious or boastful or arrogant or rude. Kindness does not insist on its own way. It is not irritable. It keeps no record of wrongs. Kindness does not rejoice in wrongdoing, but rejoices in the truth. Kindness bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, and endures all things. Kindness never ends. And if that's not enough for you, I would like to give you 3 proofs that kindness is integral to humanity. I'm going to give you an archaeological proof, I'm going to give you a biological proof, and I'm going to give you an anthropological proof. And I know a lot of you think that anthropology isn't really a science, but roll with me here on this. Biological proof, folks, that kindness is inherent to the human condition. We are all born absolutely helpless. Every single one of us is here today because someone was kind to us when we were a wee baby. We need charity and kindness to just survive. It is so basically built into what it means to be human that it is built into the biology of what it means to be human. And if that's not enough for you, I would like to go to the archaeological, and I would like to quote Margaret Mead here. Some of you may remember Margaret Mead's quote, which is often debated that it's not her. Whatever, it's a good quote, whether it was her or not her. She was asked at one point, how do you know that we became civilized? How can you tell that we became civilized? And she said, we have found record, we have found bones broken that have healed. If we were animals, those bones would never have healed because we could not have run away from things. So those people whose bones, humans and proto-humans, whose bones healed, were healed because they had the kindness and protection of other humans. So that's point 3. I got the Bible on my side. I got biology on my side. I got Margaret Mead on my side. I'm feeling pretty bulletproof here. And I got a third one, and that is the anthropological proof that humans are inherently kind. We know that we went through a copper age, and then an iron age, and then a bronze age. And we know that for every little village that there was one forge. Everybody didn't have personal forges in their houses. They had to share this forge together to make these tools that they needed to survive through these different ages. And we know they did this. So there was kindness there. There was sharing there. There was a sense of community there. So 4 points I bring to you to tell you and to offer to you that we are wired to be kind. We are predisposed to kindness. That's a big fancy word. I put that one in just to impress some of you. We are predisposed to kindness. And if humanity needs kindness to be human, what kind of humanity functions in an atmosphere of unkindness and cruelty? Is it an anti-human society? I think so. Follow me here. If cruelty is anti-human, now I'm not a doctor, I don't have any degrees in psychology or sociology, but it seems to me that if humans are inherently kind, then cruelty and unkindness would be at its root a sort of psychopathy or sociopathy that runs through our culture. Call it what it is. Call it what it is. It is what it is. So what do we do, right? What do we do when we see unkindness? It is difficult to just tell people, hey, you're being unkind. People don't take well to that. You need to find other ways to tell them that they're being unkind. And one of the best ways that I've ever found is saying, does your mama know you talk like that? Does your mama know you want our country to treat people like that? Does your mama know that what they're doing is all right with you? Some people's mamas are all right, and you'll lose that argument. Oh well. But some people's mamas are not. And we need to bring more and more to people's attention that some of the things that we're doing are just outright cruel and outright unkind and therefore outright psychopathy or sociopathy. This is our work to do here, folks. It's hard work. But we know that some people in our culture have walked away from kindness, and we need to bring them back because it's good for everybody, but it's good for us too. It's good. You don't want to live in a culture that is unkind to our folks. You don't want to live in a time where you could be overtly racist with impunity and immunity. You don't want to live in a time where women couldn't open a checking account without a man's signature, or talk to their male doctor without their husband being around. You don't want to live in a time when our black brothers and sisters had to answer white children by saying, "Yes, sir." And you do not want a time where being anything other than L or G, anything other than S or cis, meant being forced to live a lie to make sure nobody's fragile selves were damaged. So I invite you to come with me on this journey to repossess kindness in our culture. Being kind and pointing out unkindness is a lot of work. And I know a lot of you are not up to the task right now. If you're not, don't do it. But if you are, just point it out. Does your mama know that that's all right with you? That's a good question. Ooh. Does your mama know that's all right with you? And now I invite you to sing our second hymn with us. You may stand if you are ready, or if you are able, and if you are comfortable, but we ask you to join us in singing our second hymn. The words will be on our screen. Our time together today is coming to a close. We've heard the words, we have heard the music, we have sung the words that bring us into community. We have shared the joys, shared the concerns, shared our lives, and shared this very important hour together. Our time is coming to a close, but our work is not. This faith is not an easy faith. There are no simple answers and many, many questions, but it is in the questions that we grow. It is in the questions that we find and hold that spark of the eternal alive in all of us. I invite Lissa now to extinguish our chalice as our time together comes to a close. And I invite you all to, in the course of our weeks to come, to keep love at the center of our lives, and keep love at the center of our thoughts, and keep love at the center of our actions. May our shared values of independence, interdependence, pluralism, and justice, transformation, generosity, and equity guide our every decision. May we have the strength to do all of this and have fun doing it. And may our lives be our best worship.